Hey, Michelle, what's shaking?
Not too much, Lindsay. How are you?
Great. Do you have a question for me to start off today?
Sure, yeah. Do you have any friends named Grace?
I don't have any close friends named Grace, but I do know people. I know a few people named Grace. It is a popular name.
Mm-hmm.
What about
Mm-hmm.
you, Michelle? Any friends named
I don't
Grace?
have any friends named Grace, but I have heard people naming their kids Grace or Gracie as a nickname, which is very cute. I
Yeah,
think of the show Will and Grace. Did you watch that?
of course.
That was such
Yes.
a good show.
Great show. That show won, I think, it won awards or just became like a real cultural phenomenon,
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
and Grace. Yeah, so the word grace is definitely in the English language. It's in media. It is everywhere. So we were excited, Michelle, when we got a question from a listener
Yeah.
from Angel Bermejo. She says, "Hi, Michelle and Lindsay, he or she. I love you both. I hope you can share different uses of the word grace." Good one,
Hmm.
Michelle.
Good
Yeah.
one. Definitely, definitely. And we have talked about this really great expression before. What was that expression?
Yeah, give yourself some grace. And in that episode 2052, we really got into the idea of allowing yourself some leeway. And I think that's going to be a word we're going to get into today, right?
Yep.
But allowing yourself, just being patient with yourself a little bit,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes I think with language learning, we
Yeah.
need to give ourselves some grace. And that goes for our
Yes.
listeners too, right, Lindsay? Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes people might listen to the podcast and they hear it's pretty fast. We don't adjust our language. We
We
don't
don't.
adjust our speed, right?
That's the one thing that's different about us compared to other podcasts. And I think ultimately our listeners love it. But a lot of other podcasts that teach English will slow down. They will
Right.
give you kind of a teacher talk English, but we don't do that at all because we get bored. We would get bored. And so we want to enjoy our conversations too. And so, what you can do though, as a way to give yourself grace, we have just released an update to our iOS Android app, and we have
Yes.
come up with a way that you guys can give yourself some grace and actually slow down the episodes to very specific speeds. Like
Yeah.
what, Michelle? Like what, for
Like
example?
0.8x and 0.9x. Guys,
Mhm.
that is really going to help you if you want to listen a little bit slower because you still get everything. You still get our intonation. And,
Yep.
it just might be just that little bit that you need to catch everything we say. And that's
Yes.
fine. Give yourself some grace. You don't have to feel that you need to listen to it exactly the way it's published, right?
That's
Give
really
yourself some grace.
You got it. You got it. That's a perfect use of that expression. And, listeners have asked us for this. You guys have been asking us
Yeah.
for this. And we don't think, as far as we know, we can't do this on Spotify or Apple. So it's a very unique feature if you consume All Ears English over in our app. And not
Yes.
just that, but there are a few other very cool things available for premium users in
Right.
the app. Michelle, what are they? What do we get over
Yes.
there?
Well,
Yeah.
the app is incredible. There's really a lot over there. One thing you get is real-time human made transcripts, right?
That's right.
Because
That's right.
we've seen transcripts that are not human made and they're not there
Not
yet,
so
right?
good.
Because here
Not
we have you're going to get our natural utterances, the little things that aren't going to be picked up by the robots.
You got it. You got it. You also get tappable keywords. So we have selected 7 keywords in every episode that we believe will move your fluency level higher. So you can tap on those. You can see the definition. You can save
Yep.
them to your personal power list. Right.
Yes.
So Michelle, all of this stuff comes only over on the app, right? You can't get it anywhere else. So where should they go to get the app?
Guys, head on over to allearsenglish.com/app, or that's
Yes.
APP, 2 P's.
Yeah, it's a good time to start, learning with the app. We're into the fall now, and it's a good time to set new habits. All
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
Good. So that
All
was a
right.
perfect example of grace, getting into the concept of grace,
Right,
right?
right, exactly. Give ourselves some grace. So now let's talk about some other ways that you can use this word and other words that are going to be helpful in this idea. So
Yeah.
grace. So Cambridge, first of all, there are a lot of definitions. So,
Yes.
but we have Cambridge Dictionary mentioned elegance when I looked it up, right? This idea of being classy. So
Mm,
you can use grace as a noun or graceful as an adjective, but it could
yeah.
also just be a nice personality trait. So that's interesting. So let's give some examples. So number one is the ballerina made a very graceful entrance. So what does that mean, Lindsay?
Yeah, it's always nice to see dancers or ballerina the way they move, very graceful, light, and every move of the arm or the leg is very intentional.
Hmm.
It's kind of the opposite of clumsy
Yeah,
or
yeah.
unintentional. It's
Right.
also beautiful, just a beautiful way of moving physically.
It's
Yeah.
smooth, it's kind of flowing, it's
Mm.
not choppy, so it's really
Mhm.
beautiful. Um,
Right.
but
Yes.
if we use it like this, so her grace and compassion is what made her so beloved in the community. So
Love
here are we talking about how she moves?
No, here we're not. We're going away from the physical piece. We're going to the personality, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So when you talk about grace as a kind of personality trait, it becomes imagine the translation of that smooth and
Right.
respectful way of moving
Right.
into a person's character, right?
Something
Yeah.
something I don't know why on my Instagram I keep on getting different things popping up about um oh my gosh, why can't I think of this word? Like how to do things in a graceful way. Oh my gosh, why can't I, like, where people go to school sometimes to like learn about how to.
Like manners, like
Yeah, yeah,
finishing
yeah,
school
yeah.
or something?
Manners, yeah. But
Manners?
what's the word?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever.
Intentional,
Yeah,
respectful. Okay.
manners is fine. Manners
Maybe
is
our
fine.
listeners have thought of the word,
Yes,
probably
I can't.
someone in
I'm
our
having
audience
a
knows the
one of
word.
those moments.
That's okay.
But I keep on getting things about that, and one popped up the other day, and it was about how to put your purse and look in your purse in a graceful way. And this is something that
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
I am
Yeah.
not going to do.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because over the generations and the decades, I feel like probably, in the early 1900s or in the 1800s, the Victorian era, women had to learn these things, right?
Yeah.
You went to school and you learned, you were taught, and you had to be physically, at least physically graceful, if
Right.
not character wise. But that's, women are busy and at work, and it's not necessarily a priority for families to teach us this, or,
Etiquette,
or to teach
etiquette.
anyone. Etiquette is the word.
My goodness.
Yes,
Thank you.
etiquette. But there still is something really nice when you see someone that has that etiquette, knows exactly what to do in every social scenario, physically and socially.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing,
Yeah.
mesmerizing in a way.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So I wanted to teach this. This is not the word grace, but I think, Lindsay, you said this word as well. It's really good here. So the word is leeway. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. What does leeway mean?
Yeah, giving kind of giving extra time, or also giving extra space in a way. So, you just heard this recently at a doctor's appointment, I
Yeah.
guess, right? For example, they give you a 15-minute grace period, but then they cancel your appointment.
So,
Yes.
right. So this is a meaning of grace. A
Mhm.
grace period means leeway. So sorry, got that a little bit jumbled here, but
Mhm.
a grace period is this idea of having some leeway. So yes, what happened was I had to go to a doctor's appointment. The only time they had was right at the second I dropped my daughter off at camp.
That's
And
not gonna work. Yeah.
yeah, but I looked it up and it said 10 minutes away, and I explained the situation and they said exactly this. They give you a 15-minute grace period, but then they cancel your appointment. And
Whoa,
I'll
you must
just
have been
I was
pedal
I
to the
was
metal.
I that was the day then we were recording, Lindsay, and I had to push back on,
Oh,
remember? Because
chaos.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
give up the appointment. So it's this idea
Chaos.
of leeway, right?
Yeah.
Like you get some extra grace, you get a
Yeah.
grace period, some extra time.
And I think you can find the meaning in this too. The concept of having grace, giving grace, having a grace period is like a light touch, kind
Yeah.
of forgiving someone or going through the world with sort of a light touch. That
Right.
grace period allows you that
To
light touch
to
of we're not
breathe,
gonna
to breathe.
yeah, room to breathe, exactly. And then there's the term good graces. This is good, right? To be in someone's good graces means someone has a positive opinion of you,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
So give us a sample sentence, Michelle.
Okay. I think it's okay that you made the mistake. You're usually in her good graces, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone usually, you build up goodwill and
Yeah.
then, over time, then if you make a mistake, you're not gonna all of a sudden most people are still gonna give you that,
Give you grace.
benefit of the doubt, give you grace. Right,
Mhm,
exactly,
mhm.
exactly. Love that. Okay, and then, Michelle, we also see this in religion or
Right.
in prayer, right?
Right.
Um
So whether you are religious or not, just a good word to know is something before a meal. Sometimes certain religions may say something that they call grace, right? A little prayer before the meal.
Exactly. You might be more likely to see this in the movies. I don't know. I haven't been to a lot of homes where this has been done. Like, but you might show up at someone's home and they might say, "Let's take a minute to say grace." Maybe. I don't know. So just don't be surprised if you hear it. But more likely you'd see that in a movie, I think,
Yeah, you do
these
see it
days.
on a lot of in a lot of movies.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but there are even more ways it is used, but these are the ones we're going to focus on. Lindsay, are there any of these that you feel you use the most?
Let me see. So, yeah, I think grace period
I
I've
was going to
also
say that
used
too.
recently. Yeah. Like for example, if your license if some kind of I'm not talking about your driver's license. I don't think there's a grace period for that. But if you have some kind of license to operate something and it expires, like do you have to stop operating the next day? Maybe it
Mm.
depends on the industry. That sort of thing has come up recently in my life. So, yeah, I think grace period is really common. You see it around policies, around, working policies out in the world for
Even
sure.
even for something as simple as going to a restaurant. So, the a couple weeks ago,
Mm,
I went somewhere and they didn't know exactly when our table would be ready. So we just said,
yeah.
"We'll put our name down." They take your phone number, and then they were very strict about it. And they said, "Once we contact you, there's a 10-minute grace period." Right. So this idea of, I think, making appointments wherever it
Mhm.
is,
That
right? There's
that's it.
yeah.
Yeah. That's the most I think that's when you're gonna see it the most for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, reservations when you're waiting for your name to be called or appointments, that's where we're gonna see it the most in our daily lives
Yes.
for sure. So,
Yes.
Michelle, should we go into a role play? Do you
Let's
think?
do it. So here we are. Well, last role play we were sisters and now we're cousins.
Wow. All right, good. So here we're at a family reunion. Ooh, do you do a lot of family reunions, Michelle, in your
No,
life?
no, not with my side of the family really, but with Dan's side, I mean, actually it was like 10 years ago. So I think there would be
Okay, a
another
while
one
ago.
soon. But it
Yeah.
was a formal actual family reunion. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, interesting. All right, well, let's get started. So here we go. This place is so great. Can you believe how cute little Nellie is?
She's adorable and she's so graceful the way she speaks. I love her.
Oh, same here. She's definitely in my good graces as far as little kids go.
Yeah. Oh no, we're late to say grace.
It's okay. They have a 5-minute grace period at the restaurant, so we can start a bit later.
Okay.
Interesting.
Just
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna say grace this many
No, probably
times.
not. You fit it
But
in. You fit it
I figured it out.
in.
Okay. So let's go through it. So I said she's adorable and she's so graceful. So maybe this little girl is 4 years old or something. She's very
Mhm.
sweet and she has a good
Yeah.
disposition, right?
Yeah, maybe she's respectful of other kids. She's aware of her physical space. It could
Right.
mean any of
Yeah.
those things, right?
Exactly.
Yes. Right. She's not like walking through, knocking things over and
That sounds like
yeah,
my
the way
kids.
right. That's the way I still am now.
Me too.
So that's okay. And then same here. She's definitely in my good graces as far as little kids go. So what am I saying there?
You're
What
saying
am I
you
saying?
like her, right?
Yeah.
She's favorite. You have a favorable
She's
opinion of her.
right. Exactly. Exactly. And then you said Michelle.
Oh no, we're late to say grace. So I guess we're a little bit of a
Yeah.
religious family.
Right, right. And so I wonder if you're saying like we're late to sit down to
Yeah,
dinner,
yeah.
essentially is what you're actually saying
Yes,
there, right?
right,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Right. And then I said, it's okay. They have a 5-minute grace period at the restaurant. So maybe our name got called and
Right.
I don't know, we're
Right,
late to
like
sit
that.
down.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Oh, wow. So lots of things here. But of course, you probably aren't going to say grace that many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but this was good. I mean, this is such a good question, guys. We want to remind you before we go that it's really great. Give yourself some grace. Get our app, allearsenglish.com/app, APP.
Mhm.
Give yourself some grace. Slow us down a little bit.
Slow it down. Pay attention. You have that opportunity. We haven't seen that ability anywhere else, those very granular speeds. So check it out on the app. And then broadly, as the takeaway about grace, I think that name is trending, as we said at the top of the
Yeah.
show, Michelle. That
Yeah.
name is trending. And when something starts to trend, you may hear it in other places in the language and the culture.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so that's interesting to think about it as you hear more people naming their kid Grace.
Right.
You'll see the use of the word grace and the meanings around it. So it's a very timely episode today.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this has been a fun one. Thank you to our listener for that question. And guys, remember to check out our app at allearsenglish.com/app.
All right, Michelle, take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.